how do you actually conduct a successful attack on the king? What steps does it take? I think I found an amazing game that will show all the basic fundamental steps. So here we go. This position is from the game between world champion Emanuel Lasker, who was only 21 years old at the time and not a world champion yet, versus Johan Bauer. And this position, it's white to move. And we already see the first step completed by Lasker, which is to have enough attacking pieces gathered near the opponent's king. So we have potentially 4 pieces, maybe even 5, in the vicinity of the king. Okay, that's step number 1. Have enough pieces near where the opponent's king is. And have more attackers than defenders. So if you look at this position, there are probably 2.5 defenders. You don't want to count pawns as defenders because they're not that powerful. So when you look at attackers and defenders, you're mostly looking at your bigger pieces: rooks, knights, bishops, queen. So there are 2.5 defenders, maybe 4.5 attackers. Okay, so Lasker does the first step well, and he's going to go to the second step, which is once you amassed enough attackers, you want to go and remove some of the defenders in the opponent's position. So the knight is the biggest defender in Black's position because it guards the pawn. It also blocks the bishop's pressure on the g7 pawn. And the knight on f6 or its counter pawn on f3, in many cases if you're playing black, guards these 2 very important squares. So this will actually go into step 3, which I think is crucial for the most common attacks to be successful. You need a queen. You need to bring the queen really close to the opponent's king. But you can't as long as the knight is there. So gather enough pieces, get rid of the defenders, bring the queen in. Okay, that's the third step. So here, Lasker played the move knight h5, trying to remove the defender. Makes a lot of sense. Now, if Black took the knight, which was a big mistake, shouldn't have done that. I think Black expected White to take back, and now the queen is in the game, but Black would play f5. Really good move, blocking the bishop, and now there's space for the rook to come and defend the pawn as well, and the bishop as well. So this is actually fine for Black. But after knight h5, Lasker did something amazing, and this was known as Lasker's sacrifice. So instead of taking the queen, the knight with the queen, Lasker played bishop takes h7, check. Sacrifice the bishop. So I want to add something to the steps. The fourth step would be to actually remove the defenses, including pawns, shatter the king side. So to have a successful attack, you got to remove the pawns, right? Because when you castle, you have these pawns. So the fourth step is to shatter the defenses, even if it means sacrificing some of your pieces. As long as you have enough remaining, you can still checkmate. And so now after bishop takes, king takes, queen takes h5, check. One other aspect of this is to do things with tempo, with checks. That's why we sacrifice, so the opponent doesn't have time to play things like f5. So before Lasker's opponent closed off the gate with f5, White just sacrificed the bishop and then takes. No time to do f5. So it goes back. All right. Now, once again, time is a very important thing because when you're attacking, your opponent has a chance to defend. But what if you do a move with a check or a sacrifice? They can't really react to it because you're either threatening checkmate or check, or you're threatening to take a piece. So here, a normal way for White to play would be rook f3, rook h3. But I think rook f3 is a big mistake because maybe just f6. Yeah, Stockfish says f6 and now Black is winning. We just don't have time. The king just runs away. So what are the steps so far? Amass enough pieces, remove the guards, the defending pieces, bring the queen near the vicinity of the king, and then use sacrifices forcing moves to gain time so the opponent cannot coordinate a defense. So here, Lasker does the amazing bishop takes g7. And this is known as the Lasker's double bishop sacrifice. Threatening checkmate. An offer black can't refuse. They have to take the bishop. So we also remove the defenses of the king. And now, if you look at this position, white has one attacker, maybe two attackers, and black has one defender. And that's enough. Queen and rook are very dangerous. So here, we would want to go rook f3, but it's a big mistake because rook, I guess, to g8, and then black can run away to f8 and try to save the game, although probably it's still bad. Yeah, rook h8 is also possible. Rook g8 here. I think we might win a rook, but since we sacrificed so much, the king is now safe. So we don't want to allow this. So Lasker, instead of rook f3, played queen g4, check, pushing the king to the side. If they go king f6, queen g5 is actually checkmate. So the king goes to h7, and now rook f3. It's almost like defenseless king with no pawn cover and only one defender versus two big attackers. Rook to h3 is a checkmate. There's really not many ways to save it, except for one move which black found, e5, trying to bring in the queen to save the king. But the defense is a huge cost. Black will lose their queen. But wait, queen h6, takes. Lasker calculated all this far. He visualized it. And if you look at the material, white sacrificed two bishops and a rook for a queen and a couple pawns, but it's not enough, right? But there's one more move. At the end of a sacrifice, the attack didn't fully work out, but it left black in disarray. So the final tactic by Lasker is queen d7, forking both the bishops. And now white is winning because white will win a bishop and still have the mating attack as gravy. Okay, so I hope you liked this video about attacking and use it in your games. All right, bye-bye.